Tonight, it's a rarity when Emma Stone fails to deliver on the silver screen. Eric Bana is very comfortable in his native land of Australia, and several big controversies are rocking Tinseltown. All that and a whole lot more for you as cinematic class is about to begin. Your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, and other sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight we have a lot of things to cover with. Let's start with a movie called Profile. Now, this movie is not unique in that it presents the entire film from a laptop screen. Okay? This has been done before, especially in the horror context. I think the last big one to come out like that was Unfriended. This does not have a horror element to it. It's more of a thriller. And I gotta tell you, if you're the type of person who has a job that involves looking at the computer all day long, this one might be a little bit hard to watch. It's kind of a gimmick, much like Hardcore Henry was back in the day. It's not bad for a change of pace, but, I don't think you want to see something like this become a standard operating procedure. It'd be a little bit too mind-boggling. This thriller deals and demonstrates the gullibility of women, and it also shows the rather insidious nature of Muslims who are determined to destroy Western civilization. The movie stars Valene Kane, Morgan Watkins, and Shazad Latif. It was written and directed by Timur Bekmambetov. And it's not a bad thriller, kids. We're going to give this one a B.
You're the best journalist we have. I need something that's going to get people talking now.
I might have something. I've been investigating a story about young women being recruited by extremists over social media.
This is brilliant.
When I grow up.
How'd you make contact?
I created a fake profile, posing as a young convert to lure one of the recruiters to me. I'm going to share my screen. It's kind of hot.
Do you think?
The IT guys can record your desktop.
Amy, tattoos are prohibited.
Can you see the tattoo?
No. Ready to go.
Assalamu alaikum, my sister. Tell me about you. You're beautiful.
In the beginning, he would be testing the waters. He's a hunter. He wants to seduce me first.
I love you!
Only then will he give me a guide into the recruitment process.
Come here. I'll give you everything you need.
A whole new life, a very happy one.
You have to believe me, it's paradise.
You're brave to admire in a man. Can I ask you what your job is?
I don't want to talk about it over the internet. There's journalists everywhere.
Journalists. And they've got no morals. They're vultures, you know?
Exactly.
You're full of surprises, aren't you? Babe, is everything all right?
I'm fine. If I want to come to Syria, what do I need to do?
You're making me so happy right now.
Are you falling in love with him?
It's all just part of the recruitment process. Baker. What's the training program like for converts like us?
Hey, baby!
What are you looking at?
Nothing, I'm looking at you.
You wouldn't lie to me, would you?
Baby, I bought the ticket, I'm coming.
This has gone far enough.
I'm reeling him in.
Who's there with you?
No, you say you are.
What?
My God, I'm sharing my screen.
He's a terrorist.
Oh my God.
You know who I am? We'll find you in a matter of minutes.
No, please don't.
Delete your account.
I need to make sure there's a connection so I know where he is if he's behind my door.
Amy, what's going on?
I told you on the onset of the show that there were a couple of controversies rocking Tinseltown currently. One of them involves the Hollywood Foreign Press and their raison d'etre, if you will, is the Golden Globes. The controversy is that people became, the Hollywood elite became rather upset because there were no blacks in the organization, and therefore it became a pariah. Well, that's not the story, really. It's not what happened. Let me tell you a little bit about the Hollywood Foreign Press. It actually started out with 8 members. Okay, now today it has 80 members, but when it originally started, it was 8 people. And although a lot of people will not tell you this, the reason it began were these 8 movie critics simply couldn't find work over in Europe, so as a result, they came over here to America, set up the Hollywood Foreign Press, and boy, they gained an awful lot of popularity and an awful lot of clout. Why, you ask? Because back in the day, and even to today, those in Hollywood, the Hollywood elite, seem to think that somehow Europe is so much better than America, both socially and culturally. Talk about misnomers, right? So this organization grew, it became strong, it starts the Golden Globes. What really happened with this thing is the Golden Globes tanked. And they didn't just tank this year, the year after the pandemic. They have been tanking for years, and they can't get sponsors for their show. The only people who look at the Golden Globes and think they're worthwhile are the Hollywood producers, the casts, and the crews of the movies. Nobody else cares about these people. Look, it would be like me going over to France and setting up an organization where American reviewers critique French movies. Who in France would care, okay? Well, maybe because I am the purveyor of truth in movies, they might get a glimmer of light, but I digress. So the bottom line is this organization had a lot of clout simply because of the demented mentality of the Hollywood elite. But everything comes down to money, folks. And when the Golden Globes couldn't pull in the advertisers, they needed to find a way to kick down the group off of the pedestal, get rid of the show, and they did it by throwing down the ultimate trump card, the race card, and now the whole thing is kablooey. And maybe now the Hollywood Foreign Press will not be seen as some kind of celluloid demigods, which they are not. Good riddance to bad company, I say. All right. For 30 years, not only have I been your most beloved film critic, but I've also been a teacher, both on the secondary and post-secondary levels in all things video, film, cinema, what have you. Especially during my college teaching years, the projects at the end of the semester were usually rather grandiose, small little mini movies where you want to see students move to. And when you grade these types of projects, you don't hold them up to the standards that you would major Hollywood producers and studios. Obviously, these are people learning, so you cut an awful lot of slack on these projects when you look at them. That said, I couldn't even cut slack on this film. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, this thing is just absolutely horrendous. It's called Evil Everywhere, and this is probably cheeseball cinema at its worst. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some movies that are intentionally made to be very bad. They're bad cinema. And some of the bad cinema is really good. It's fun to watch. Well, this one didn't even come close. Let me see if I could. It was written and directed by Mikey Morettini. And boy, Mikey, you got some problems here. The cinematography in this thing is absolutely horrendous. It appears as if none of the cameras before shooting began was ever white balance, because the white balance is thrown off of all the cameras. There attempted to be some color correction in post, but they couldn't get it steady, and it constantly shifts, which is very distracting. And the framing of the shots is it's not amateur. It's just bad framing. As far as the editing is concerned, the sequencing is bad on this. The soundtrack is off so that people are saying things and then their lips are moving, milliseconds later. And they put jump cuts in the movie. Do I need to say anything more? This is just absolutely horrendous. Avoid this one like the plague. It's called Evil Everywhere.
They're calling them freak accidents.
You have no idea what you're getting into. 100 years later, the curse was set to take place. Your graduating class. That mansion has evil everywhere.
You may remember it was only a few short decades ago that Rebecca De Mornay, who was certainly a screen siren, made her career in playing these rather demented characters in these really obscure thrillers. Well, we have another one of those out now, and Rebecca De Mornay is not in this one, but still, it does have a very good cast. Let me make sure I get all this right and quit struggling here as I grab the old specs. Dermot Mulroney is in this. Kristen Davis is in this. Greer Grammer, and Greer also produced this movie as well. Our editor for this was Brian Schofield, and a little bit, Brian, buddy, you made this one a little bit too long. These thrillers should fit in very comfortably in about 90 minutes, and he's got about 20 minutes too much stuff in here. Our writer and director was Anna James. Anna has made the ending a little bit too implausible. There's a scene that involves security, especially security around a mental institution, and nobody should be able to walk from the street into a patient's room without going through some kind of a security process, but that's what happens at the end of this movie. And there are flashbacks that Anna puts into the script, which really don't add to the narrative. In fact, they're more confusing than they are enlightening. Now, I told you, and I've said repeatedly on reviews, it seems to be that when they want to make a woman-driven film, for some reason or another, the lesbian theme has to come into the film. This one does it too, but it's not the kind that you would just shake your head and say, why did they put that in? This lesbian theme is more a self-loving theme, because our main character here is actually in love with a younger version of herself. Now, that's a little bit of a twist that you could say, okay, we can go with that, we can buy that, and it doesn't fall into that typical trashy template that a lot of these other ones do. The name of the movie is called Deadly Illusions. It's actually worth a pretty decent look for a thriller. We're going to give it a C+.
You're Mary Morrison, best-selling author.
I haven't written in a while.
What you need is a full-time sitter. The girls she recruits cook, they clean, everything.
I think that you will be very pleased with what we can offer.
I'm Grace.
Hi, Grace.
She can't be real.
You are a godsend. You don't have to take care of the kids and me.
I know, but I like to.
Please.
Never seen this side of you before.
What do you mean?
Hi, Mrs. Morrison.
I was just waiting to hear
Which caregiver you want to go with?
You have a Grace, right?
Sorry, we don't.
have anybody by that name.
Just had a horrible dream.
Nightmares can feel so real sometimes.
Whatever you do, please don't let Grace in.
I thought we could use a little playtime.
It was so real!
It's time for you to pay.
All right, I need to go off on a rant a little bit. Not that this will be the first one, but Lionsgate is a decent movie studio, and you would think that, especially yours truly here, would have some kind of a foot in the door, because one of the chief executives of Lionsgate makes his home here in Pittsburgh. So you kind of think there's got to be, Jason Statham came out with a movie called The Wrath of Man, and he did this with Guy Ritchie. These two have teamed before, and I was really looking forward to this movie. So Lionsgate sends me, a screener for the movie, and then sends me a direct link with production notes and stills and video clips that I can use in my review. Fantastic. This is great. All studios should do this, right? So I put together a nice little segment review for Wrath of Man, which appears online on all the various social networks that we're on. And don't you know that YouTube blocks it? You're using copyrighted material. Yeah, YouTube, they do this all the time. I constantly have to remind them that I am a bona fide critic. So I send the letter again. Look, this is legit. I got it directly from the studio. Bada, bada, bing. All right. So I get an email back a few days later, and Lionsgate tells YouTube, no, we're sticking with this. We're copywriting it. It's blocked in America. I know. I have an awful lot of viewers in foreign countries, but my main audience is in America. And, I kind of sort of wanted this to be seen. I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't give the movie such a great review they decided to block it. But there's no excuse for this. And my whole point to this rant is that that's why we are on alternative sites like Rumble and Parler, now that Parler is back up, and Gab, because we don't have to go through this nonsense of them giving me clips to use and then saying, you can't use them. Putz. All right. There's my rant. So if you want to see my review for Wrath of Man, go to Rumble, go to Parler, or go to Gab. And if you don't have you could always click on them from the Facebook page. They'll take you right to them. No editing. It's right there. It's there for you to see. Speaking of seeing, I love seeing Emma Stone on screen. This is just, what an amazing, amazing young woman. I think if I were like 40 years younger and back to my fighting weight, 150 pounds, well, you get the idea, okay? So I enjoy seeing her in the movies an awful lot. Why in the world? Disney comes out with Cruella. This has probably got to be one of the worst Disney movies that I have ever seen. Let me back up a little bit for you. Okay, back when Walt Disney was running the studio, and you can do research and find out all kind of theories about this, but Walt had a propensity for making his villains women. That's just the way it was. They were witches and wizards and all kind of, evil creatures that, you had a Prince Charming, but you had Maleficent. So it never balanced. Okay. So what Disney decided to do in this new woke age where women are, ta-da, is they decided to take a bunch of these evil female characters from the original Disney classics and somehow roll them over, not necessarily so they would be good guys, but to see them in, this is why this character was evil, because she was wronged in this way, or this happened to her, or something like, wow. There's going to be an excuse for everybody acting bad now, especially girls, okay? So we have Emma Stone in Cruella, and oh my God, folks, this movie is long. It's about 2 hours and 26 minutes long, and it's boring as hell. There's another way to say this thing. Disney, in its typical fashion, has also added the agenda, okay? So the group that normally hangs with Cruella, and everybody remembers Cruella de Vil, right? I mean, she was a nasty person. She wanted to kill Dalmatians so she could make a coat, right? Okay, so what we get is a total twist on that story, all right? She doesn't really kill any dogs because that would make her too evil, and we can't show an evil female. Okay, we have to add a black into her group because the original group didn't have a black, so we have to add a black. And it's kind of weird because since it's made in England, the blacks over there have a British accent, which kind of smooths things out. And then this guy is technically what we would call a white Negro. We had a white Hispanic back in the day of Trayvon Martin. Well, yeah, this guy can, pass under the radar. So we do that. And then, of course, we have to add the other agenda. We add a queer to the movie because there wasn't one in the original, but we have to add it here to keep the agenda going. And we do that it adds nothing to the plot. Okay, if these characters would add something to the story, I would say yes, nice twist, way to, augment. They don't. They're just thrown in there because, well, it's something to do. So we have to do the transgender thing and toss it in there. It really doesn't. I tell you one thing the movie does have. It has a great soundtrack, okay? It's all from like the 70s, okay? The only thing that goes askew is they couldn't get the Beatles to come together, so they get Tina Turner to do it, and it's just not as good there. This thing is just absolutely painful to watch. Emma Stone is great on camera. She makes a good Cruella. This material is weak and lame. Disney should be ashamed of themselves. Here's a look.
From the very beginning, I realized I saw the world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people. But I wasn't for everyone. I guess they were always scared that I'd be a psycho. And I was ready to make a statement. How does the saying go? I am woman, hear me roar. I'm Cruella.
Anyone who is a sponsor of this show deserves your attention, and that holds true for the House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge. Sam is ready to take care of you guys on two fronts. First, he'll have you styling and profiling, looking the best you can possibly look. And second, he'll provide you 2 luxurious floors of man cave where you can just sit back, relax, libations, good cigars, and anything you want to do. Gaming tables, big screen TVs, it's all there for you, and it's a great way to spend an evening. It's at the corner of Drake Road and South Park Road, House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge. When you call down there, talk to Sam, tell him I sent you along. He'll be sure to take good care of you. There's a huge controversy now over Asian hate. And all of these studios have been coming out, we're having a discussion group about Asian hate. I've gotten so upset with this that even on very conservative websites like LinkedIn, I've been saying, you know what, instead of having a discussion group, why don't you promote some of the Asian movies out there which you constantly ignore? Boy, did the Warner Brothers people get mad at me for saying that kind of thing. But it's true, and that's why we're left with a studio like 1091 to release a movie called Takeout Girl. I got to tell you, I had a lot of fun watching this movie. There's an awful lot of mixed cultures in this. It has to deal with Asians who come over and somehow get absorbed into the black street culture. And just like the Hispanics who come over across the border down in Arizona and Texas, they somehow think that using drug money, they want to get drug money and then somehow use that drug money for good, the good of the family, the good of the community, whatever. And it's an interesting thing to watch. So people starring in this are Hedy Wong, Lauren Lai, Lena Yi, and Louis Skycar, who sometimes just goes as a Skycar. It's a decent flick. It has a really interesting ending. It is written, directed, shot, and the special effects are all done by Hisoni Johnson. Nice job. I think you'll like this one. It's a pretty interesting little tale of life on the street. It's called Takeout Girl.
Everybody got an agenda. Everybody got dirt.
Somebody order Chinese food?
Your money is back there.
That hustling. It's all around us.
I didn't catch your name.
I don't trust you, but Lalo does trust you.
You moving that shit to Mom's restaurant?
I'm making the type of bread that's gonna give Mom a better life.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
I want you to tell me what's inside.
Please step out the car now.
What's inside the bag?
I don't know!
Now, I told you there were a couple of controversies rocking Hollywood, and one of them has to do with these mergers. You know, AT&T really never wanted Warner's. That's why they're going in and combining with Discovery here. AT&T originally grabbed Warner and Warner Media because there was a rumor that one of its competitors, I believe it was Viacom, was going to go into the phone industry, and AT&T was trying to stop that, so it beat Viacom at its own game. Well, when Viacom backed down and the phone company branch of it never developed, AT&T was stuck with Warner's. It was an entity they never truly wanted. So now Warner's will combine with Disney. That'll include HGTV, TNT, HBO, the HBO Max streamer, the Food Network. This is interesting, especially after Warner Media decided to go into the streaming business. And I've talked before about their ploy of releasing their blockbuster movies both in theaters that are open and streaming at the same time. Interesting that they would do this. No one is really going to try to stop this merger, and that's a bad thing, because what we have here is when these companies gobble each other up, what we get is one thing, okay? Whatever the agenda, whatever the ideology of that company is, you will find that now in all of the movies and the TV shows produced. It will inundate every single project, and we won't have any diversity at all as far as topics, themes, or outlooks. This is even complicated more because now Amazon wants to buy out MGM. And if they do, MGM's creativity is going to be gone, and you're going to have just Amazon spewing out its agenda. This is probably one of the reasons why the next 007 is going to be a black female, because it fits better into Amazon's political agenda than it does into MGM's creativity agenda. This is not a good thing, folks. And the only thing I can say is here's a big push for the independent movies, because that's where you will find fresh, refreshing themes and movie plots. Speaking of refreshing themes and movie plots, Eric Bana, said in a recent interview he would never do a movie that left people feeling bad. And although there are times in this movie where you feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? Everything works out in the end, and it makes it worthwhile. He has a very compelling thriller here. It is very well acted. He's back home in his native Australia. It surrounds two murders. Each murder is separated by 2 decades of time, and the second murder happens during a drought. In fact, it's been 324 days without rain, so the town in which the murder occurs is already very stressed out. Starring in this with Eric are Genevieve O'Reilly, Keir O'Donnell, John Polson, Julia Blake, Nick Farnell. It was written, produced, and directed by Robert Connolly. This one gets a B. It's above average. It's a good little thriller. It's called The Dry.
The day that poor girl drowned. Ellie.
So you've heard some stories about me.
I've heard some.
I have personal history with the girl who died in a river 20 years ago.
It becomes second nature.
Where were you that afternoon?
Why would I lie?
Because Luke asked you to.
Sometimes when this place feels kind of empty.
Did you have anything to do with that girl's death?
Under the Milky Way tonight.
We have run completely out of time. I wasn't able to bring out Rex Reel because none of these movies in this episode really fit into his milieu. We'll bring him back on the next episode, where we'll talk about summer blockbusters and some of the neat things that Netflix is doing. Till then, now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.